Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the GBYWN Australia podcast. I am your host, as usual, Aston Crude, and here today, holy shit, this is going to be the interview of the year. I have with me a legend in the sport of backyard wrestling, the first ever UWF champion and the last ever ICWS champion. I'm talking about the Serbian Terminator, Knuckles!
Sup, guys?
Fucking great to have you on the podcast, mate. I've been wanting to interview you for so long, been hassling you about it for so long, and here we are.
Nah, it's good to be here, man. I'm glad to finally get a chance to speak. Should be good.
Yeah, excellent. And
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I find like guys like you in the backyard wrestling seem to be the most interesting to interview because it's just you come from a different place as it pertains to wrestling, because you're not like us nerds where we die-hard wrestling fans. You're not so much like a die-hard wrestling fan like a DJ would be, you know? But the first question, usually I do ask about the wrestling, but I'm interested in finding out about you. And I want to know about your life growing up as a Serbian fella in a Serbian family. What is it like? It's got to be different.
It's pretty nuts, man. I came here when I was 4. We came here as refugees to escape the war.
Fuck.
I had to learn a different language. You know, I was chucked straight. I was at home for like 1 or 2 years. Then I was chucked straight into year 2, I think. Had to just pick up English as I went along. I don't remember much from my early days, but my parents were telling me I'd come home crying like every single day because no one could pronounce my name and I didn't understand people, but things picked up. It was a bit different because our customs, our culture is quite different from Australians. So it was a bit interesting. I was living basically one kind of lifestyle at home and then another kind of lifestyle at school.
Right.
So it was a bit of a struggle mixing those two sometimes.
Yeah. Would like a Serbian parent's quite strict?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents. If I was scared to do anything wrong because they'd be busting my ass. I never got hit, but when my dad gets angry and shouts, it's like, it's terrifying.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I've heard you, get a bit worked up here and there, talking about old stories where someone pissed you off, and the accent gets stronger as you get angrier.
Genetics, man. We Slavs, we're a very angry race. I mean, just listen to a Serbian or a Russian or anyone from that area talking really loudly. It sounds like they're arguing. It sounds like they're hella pissed. But no, that's just how they talk.
That's brilliant. I love it.
I'm actually a lot more tame than my dad when it comes to that stuff. A lot more chilled, because I can't be fucked getting angry about stuff anymore, man. It's just too much effort.
Yeah. So, were you a wrestling fan before you met any of the ICWS boys?
Yeah, to a degree, but my only experience with wrestling was the PS2 game, Here Comes the Pain.
Right, so
it was such an awesome game. I'd play it so much. My cousin would come over some nights. We just spend all night playing it, creating characters and just beating the shit out of each other. It was great.
Oh, right, so you're one of the wrestling fans that became a fan because of the video game. I know there's a few guys from WCWA that their first exposure was playing the video game and not actually watching it themselves.
Yeah, I mean, there was no way I could watch it. We didn't have Foxtel, and the only way to get wrestling, the only other way to get wrestling was to rent out DVDs and stuff.
Right, yeah.
But we didn't do that, so yeah, video games it is.
Oh, excellent. So who would you say were some of your favourite wrestlers?
Goldberg, man.
Oh, so sick, dude. Yes.
So awesome.
I love Goldberg. How did you first meet Chris Zeppelin and Daniel Johnston?
Chris Zeppelin was... we used to go to primary school together.
Right.
But we barely ever talked. I thought he was just a dorky weirdo who was somehow hanging out with all the popular kids.
Oh, right.
I'm right here, dude.
Shut up.
Right on. So that's primary school, right?
Yeah, it wasn't until high school that we actually started hanging out, because
right.
When we started year 8, all the various primary school groups, they hung out together.
Yeah.
So me, Chris, a couple of other people, and then they split off into other groups. But me and Chris basically stayed hanging around with each other. And Daniel was actually in my contact class, also in this form class.
Yeah.
And we only really started talking when we went to Year 8 orientation camp, because we were in the same group then too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was DJ like back then?
He was weird. He was a zany motherfucker. He was pretty out there, kind of a class clown.
Right.
Good lad though.
Well, you know, to a degree. So are these the first two out of the general group from the wrestling that you met?
Yeah, pretty much. There was also Cameron, Blood Bandit. He was in our contact class as well.
Right. What was he like?
He was scary, but only because he was so much taller than the rest of us.
Right on. Before the UWF began, you mentioned like at some point like in the past that you and the guys did some kind of wrestling at school or something like that. I don't know. No one's really mentioned it before on the podcast, so I really wanted to get your memories on that.
Alright, so what this consisted of was during recess and lunch, a bunch of us would go to the front oval, this big ass front oval, underneath this massive tree, and we just wrestle. And I say wrestle in quotation marks, because it was usually just us pushing each other around, just picking each other up and slamming each other down onto this fucking hard ground, dirt floor. We'd get like people coming over and watching and thinking, what are these guys doing?
Like you're getting dirty all over your school clothes.
You know, all around nice, pristine school. Well, mine were pristine and nice. Not sure about DJ's, man.
No, he's dirty all over. Even when he's had a shower, I feel like he's still dirty. Did they have a name or anything, that wrestling that you did there?
Well, we called it wrestling, but I think it was
WTWF.
WTWF.
World Team
W-
Wrestling Federation.
Oh my god.
My favourite memory of this was Knuckles having matches with Camouflage, who later became Blood Bandit.
Oh right.
And the only reason we did that match so often is because Cameron was a big dude and Knuckles was the only guy who was brave enough to wrestle him.
Oh right.
No one else would want to go near him.
Even back then, as a scrawny foreign nerd kid, I still had the balls to like step into the ring with this tall dude who is known for slamming cunts left and right.
Yeah. Right on. And also, Chris, I'm not sure how well the mic's picking up your voice.
Okay.
But yeah, you should be alright. I think we're fine. I'm worried, that's all. I get very paranoid at times with this microphone. Okay, so you're hanging out with the group, you're wrestling at school and shit. When's the first time you hear of any mentioning of a backyard wrestling group being formed to have shows at people's houses?
See, now it's not something I remember that well, but who got the idea for it? Was it Daniel? Was it Eli? Was it Chris? Who was it?
Definitely DJ.
DJ, yeah. He
wanted to move it from being at school to something a bit more professional, I suppose you could say.
Well, he was always really passionate about this stuff, and he was always into filmmaking. And I don't know, I guess after talking with Zunkel, who was also like kind of big in the broadcasting game, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
It basically came up with the idea to do a show at his house.
Right.
Like a full-on wrestling show, you know, professionally produced and all that.
Yeah. Like in the uncle made the DVD, right?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
So that was Twisted Metal 1.
Oh, yeah.
You win the tournament to become the first champion. Take me back to that day if you have any memories of it.
Yeah, I didn't even know what was going to happen. I just rocked up there expecting to have a bit of fun. Then the first thing Daniel's uncle says to me, "Alright, what's your character? DJ's the bad boy. Who are you?" And I'm just standing there stunned. Now, what the fuck? I wasn't thinking about this shit when I woke up this morning. I'm just the tough guy, I guess. and then I was told I'd be winning the title. And I'm like, really?
Sick.
Cool, I guess.
Excellent. So, how did it feel to win the championship? It must be one of your treasured memories of life, being the first champion, surely.
It was interesting. I mean, not sure how deserving I was of that title, but it was interesting. I suppose it did feel kind of good, because at that age, year 8 and 9, I had some self-esteem issues. Like I said, I was a scrawny, geeky, bespectacled foreign kid with a weird accent.
Right.
So any
I find that sexy.
Well, thank you, Carl. I appreciate it. It makes me happy to hear that.
So speaking of being deserving to win the title, you missed the next 2 shows. And you return at Road to Redemption 2008 and you defeat Chad Yo. What was your relationship like with Chad Yo? You said earlier today that he was a dick in high school.
He was an interesting fella. He was, how do I say this? He was a good lad at heart, but because our friendship group at school consisted of us ruthlessly taking the piss out of each other, sometimes he took this a bit too far. Often I was the butt of jokes, because like I said, I was the prime target. Quick, easy to anger foreign kid with the weird accent.
Yeah.
They'd always used to give me shit, and sometimes Chad took it a bit too far.
Yep.
And that kind of pissed me off a bit, but nah, he was a good kid. We were friends.
Do you have any specific stories of Chad pissing you off?
Not particularly. It's just...
That's all right. I'm sure there's someone else we're going to talk about. There'll be a few stories.
A couple of times it did annoy me how he'd, like, say, "Hey, pneumonia. That's not my name. My name's Nemanja, or Nem for short. Don't try and turn my name into some kind of fucking illness. That's not cool, man."
Pneumonia, that's fucked. Fucking kids will find any way to like make fun of someone's name.
Kids are dicks. I should know. I'm a teacher.
You're a teacher. Unbelievable. At Close Encounter, you defeat Wicked Nick James, formerly known as Painstaken. I don't know if you remember this, but tell me your thoughts on Nick the person. Were you two close at all?
I always liked Nick. He was always awesome. We never... Because he was the year below us, and I didn't really hang out with him. We weren't, like, too close. But I always liked Nick. He was always a good kid. I say kid. Well, now he has a kid of his own, but...
Crazy.
Good lad. I like him.
Cool. Because, like, one thing I wanted to know more about was your relationship with a lot of these guys. Because I know how close you are with DJ and Chris, but I'm just not too sure how you were with some of the other guys.
I was cool with pretty much everyone. I mean, I didn't do anything to purposely antagonize people. I hate conflict. I was just myself, you know.
Can you tell me about the incident where you flipped a table in the library?
Gladly, Carl. Gladly. We were in library. I believe it was year 11 or 12, something of the sort, and we were playing this card game called Bullshit. Have you heard of it?
No, not really. I think
it's also known as Cheat.
Right.
Basically, a bunch of guys sit around a table. They have a large number of cards, and they can put anywhere between 2 and like 4 cards face down, and the cards have to be like either the same number. Yeah, they have to be the same number, and it's basically like kind of a version of poker. Whereas if you put down 2 cards that aren't the same number, and someone calls bullshit, you have to flip the 2 cards over, and if you were indeed lying, you have to collect all the cards, and the goal of the game was basically to get rid of all your cards.
Right. Yeah.
Alright, so what happened was, I believe I put down something like 2 2s, but unbeknownst to me, one of the 2s slipped off from the table. DJ saw this, but he said nothing. And then Eli called bullshit, and I'm sitting there smirking to myself. Yeah, I'll show you, bitch. So we flipped the 2 top cards, and there was a 2 and something like a 7. And then I'm thinking to myself, where the fuck is my 2? And Eli's like, all these cards are yours. I'm like, no, they're not. I put 2 2s down. No, there's clearly a 2 and a 7. No, there were 2 2s. No, it's a 2 and a 7. So I'm sitting there, slowly stewing, like spanning a couple of stuff to me. And then I just give him a light little slap on the cheek. Nothing major, I don't slap, but just a nice little tap on the cheek. Because he was pissing me off. and then we resumed the game as normal. A couple minutes later, he stands up, slowly walks around the table while I'm still playing the game, minding my own business. He pulls back his arm and gives me this thunderous slap that made my fucking ear ring like mad. And then he just goes and sits back down, and I'm sitting there, my face slowly getting redder and redder, the frustration, the rage building, until I just flip the fucking table. All the cards go flying all about, fucking.
I can see the veins in your face now as you retell the story.
And then the librarian comes up and goes, "Alright, what happened here?" And I'm like, "He's cheating! He's cheating! He hit me! He's cheating! I don't know!" And he's like, "I think you need to calm down." "But he's cheating! And he hit me!" "Well, if you can't play nicely, you're going to have to go outside." I'm like, "Fine!" And then I slammed my hand on the table and walked outside.
Right. What a story. I love it. Had to get that one.
Clearly we should have turned that into an ICWS feud.
Oh, that would have been brilliant. Back to the wrestling.
Yeah, let's go back to that.
You lose to Chagyo for the hardcore title later in the show that you defeat Wicked Nick James. But then you miss 2 shows and then lose to Daniel Johnston at Halloween Hell 2008. This is now the second time you've lost to DJ. Can you tell us the story of when you two were in a car accident?
You want to hear about that? You really...
Real sharp turn out of the wrestling there.
Alright, so he had just gotten his license, and because we were bros and going to the same uni, Curtin, doing the same classes and everything,
Sick.
he offered to drive, and I'm like, hell yeah, it means I don't have to take public transport, so yeah. So there we were, driving. We just reached Curtin Bentley. We were driving down the road towards the car park, and there were these 2 cars parked, like, basically just waiting on the side of the road. I think the car at the front was trying to turn right into the car park, and the one behind was waiting. And then we're driving, and I just see the car not slowing down. And I'm like glancing at DJ, thinking to myself, dude, what's going on? And then we're getting closer and closer to the cars. I still see the cars not slowing down, and I'm thinking, I go, shit! And then, like, in slow motion, DJ's car rammed the back of this car in the middle. It sent the car in the middle, shooting forward into the back of the other car in front. It was a fucking 3-way mess.
Oh, it's so good.
And DJ was stressing the fuck out, obviously. And we got out of the car trying to smooth things over. He was trying to smooth things over.
Right.
The person whose car he'd hit belonged to this Asian family. They didn't speak English very well. So then he was stressing the fuck out over that, trying to, like, understand them.
Yeah.
Then, like, some Curtin security came over, tried to smooth the situation over. Daniel rang his mum to explain the situation. I'm thinking to myself, standing there, I think we're going to be late to class.
That is so good. I love that story. I love the shit.
I think we were too engrossed in, like, our little conversation that I just lost focus for a bit.
I can just imagine how DJ would be so upset and so panicky. So another question I wanted to ask about DJ is what is the most annoying thing about DJ?
The most annoying thing about DJ? Oh boy. Let me get out my list. Actually, I don't have a list. It's more of a mental list than anything. Let me think. I'm quite a social guy when it comes to my friends. I like hanging out a lot, just chilling. And the most annoying thing about DJ is he never wants to chill without really specifying a reason why. You know?
Just says I'm busy, man, and that's it. Doesn't go into specifics.
Yeah.
And that's been happening a lot lately, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're busy, fair enough, just...
We know he's not.
At least give an explanation.
We know he's not busy. on a Monday or Tuesday night or a Thursday night?
Oh, see, thing is, I don't know, because he never tells me anything. I don't know if he's spending time with his girlfriend or if he's catching up on some good old
No, they broke
Netflix.
up. So.
What?
Oh, did you not know that? Oh, they broke up a few weeks ago.
Shit.
Yeah, he's a bit upset about it.
Fuck.
You're not in the loop enough. DJ, if you're listening to this, why is Nem not in the loop, bro? Supposed to be one of your best friends ever.
The thing is, DJ's one of my best friends. I love the guy to death, but I also love taking the piss out of him.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Kind of, partly as payback for all the times he took the piss out of me in high school.
And he saw that too, hit the ground in the library, and he didn't say shit.
No, he was a little fucking shit stirrer. He liked to incite unrest.
Okay, so back to the wrestling. You missed 6 events after lose to DJ. And you return to defeat DJ at Harsh Reality. Then you miss a following 2. What the fuck are you doing, mate?
It's a mix of having actual legitimate injuries, because I played soccer for a club back then, and just having no one to drive me to events, because
Right.
when these events were in Midland, I had no one to drive me, and
This is
obviously,
the Rose Garden, right? Yeah.
and I didn't really know how to take public transport at the time either, and my parents were usually busy on the weekends with stuff, so I had no way to get there.
Right.
And like I said, injuries, I've had some pretty pain in the ass problems with my knee and groin area in particular, with injuries.
It's all that sex you're having, bro.
Well, partly.
But you return in 2010 to defeat Blade Warsaw with the Knuckles Lock. What made you decide to use the Knuckles Lock as a finishing hold?
Well, my name was Knuckles, and I liked using my knuckles.
Right.
And I just thought it was a cool submission, and it's an actual legit submission too. I mean, if you lock it in right, it fucking hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how I got the name Knuckles?
No, and I'd like to know that.
Well, basically it was because I would kick everyone's ass when we were playing Knuckles.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's sick.
That was one of my favourite games.
It's a fucking harsh game, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Did you ever play it with him, Chris?
No. No, all my knuckles are still intact.
You can ask DJ about it, like, I hurt him bad.
Yeah, I can already see how fun that would be to watch.
I do remember at one time you wanted to change your name to Dan G. Roos.
That's fucked. I
That's
prefer
not the one name
Knuckles, I
that's
think.
worse than Knuckles. Not that Knuckles is a bad name.
I love the name Knuckles, I think it's cool.
I think so too, I like it.
Although I'm sure if like Eli used the name Knuckles, I probably wouldn't like it that much. So it's probably just because it's your name.
Yeah, probably.
Because I love you. At Subject to Change, you have a match that is considered a classic in ICWS history, where you defeated MC Crude with 3 spears. Not 1, not 2, 3 spears. What is with your strained relationship with MC Cruel? What was he like in school? You did tell a little story about it in the library, but why is it a strained relationship for?
Because, well, we were friends back then, but he was a massive dick. Of our entire group, he was the one that enjoyed taking the piss out of people the most, and like I said, I was the prime target. He just loved riling me up. And we even went so far as to have these, like, impromptu chop battles. Like, we'd be sitting in class, just everyone would be doing their own things, and then all of a sudden you heard this massive slap. You'd look up, and one of us, either me, Eli, or DJ, would chop each other.
Right.
Just randomly. And it didn't extend to that as well. It was nut shots as well.
Okay, yeah. Fucking hell.
Why did we do this?
I don't know, this is ridiculous.
I know, man. What the fuck?
So, I mean, you two were friends, but over the years you've just kind of had a little bit of a rivalry, I suppose.
Well, thing is, we lost contact after high school. We never really spoke to each other.
Yeah.
But when I do see him at the occasional wrestling event now and then, I go and say hi, and he hasn't changed at all since his high school days, it looks like. All of us have grown to a degree, matured, but from what I can tell, he's stayed the same.
Because something happened at the recent WCWA show with him being a bit rude to you when you said hello?
What happened was, I shook his hand, as is the proper and manly thing to do, because I'm a manly man. I like manly handshakes, and I was grasping it firmly, shaking it, and he said something along the lines of, "Why are you holding my hand so hard like some kind of fag? Is that the way to greet a mate you haven't seen in years?"
Yeah, it must have been like 2 or 3 years since you've seen him.
Yeah, something like that.
I was just disappointed to hear that he wasn't really like, "Hey man, how you going? I haven't seen you in so long." It ended up being something negative. Like, I don't know why I couldn't just be nice to you.
I don't know, man, but I went to his group later in the show and had a decent chat with him. I mean, that's good. I enjoyed that, but still, that's not a way to greet a mate you haven't seen for years.
Right.
You know?
Gotcha. All right, we'll get away from the dirt and get back to the wrestling here.
Gosh, Carl, you're such a gossip.
I love it. I love the dirt, bro. ICWS Bloodline, you wrestled Destructor in your first match in 13 months. What kept you away for so long? Was it the injuries?
Destructor. Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Justin.
I think it was injuries. Again, transport issues. And I just kind of lost interest back then. What year was this, do you know?
2011.
Yeah, I really lost interest in wrestling back then, and I just didn't feel up to it, you know. I mean, I had Foxtel and I was watching regularly, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. I didn't find it interesting. The storylines were bland, not engrossing.
Right.
The wrestling just didn't strike my interest like it used, when I guess I just didn't join that much. But when, in regards to coming back, I figured, why not? Could be fun.
Because I don't think I think I hadn't even met you yet at this point, because I hadn't. By the time I came and went, you had been gone and you hadn't returned.
Yeah.
So I hadn't met you at this point. But fair enough, you know. Sometimes wrestling on TV can affect the way someone actually feels about doing the backyard wrestling. If it's boring for them there, then it will affect the way they feel about doing
plus,
it.
I had other interests. I was also starting uni. I was quite busy with that, stressing out the hell over that.
Yeah. At Ode to Glory, the next show, you defeat EQG. Now you're getting back into the swing of things. What were your thoughts on the now vastly different roster?
It was an interesting collection of guys. It was rather different from when we started, because these guys, I didn't know them that well. I mean, all the UWF guys and stuff, we all went to school together, so I knew pretty much everyone. But these guys, they were new, they were a bit weird, and I was in like a position of seniority based not on not on skill or experience, but just simply how long I've been there.
Longevity.
Yeah, I was seen as one of the OGs.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting to a degree.
Yeah, and in a way, like, you're one of the original guys that's still there at this stage. I mean, DJ's coming and going. Nick's kind of on the way out. I think he only had one more match after this or something like that, and then he was gone. Eli was gone. So it was a vastly different, I guess, company at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just must have been interesting to see how much it had evolved in that 13-month break that you had.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the wrestling we did back in the day, like in the early days of the Fed, it wasn't even wrestling, if you could call it that. It was just bitch fighting, I guess, and just these weird slams onto the base. And then as it got further and further along into the Fed's life cycle, people actually started legitimately wrestling, and it was interesting. And the thing with me is, because I hadn't had any formal training or any training really, I basically just had to pick up on it as I went.
Right. That's a question I have later on. You have an unorthodox style which is vastly different to everyone else. I was wondering, where does that come from? Is that a bit of your martial arts kind of background as well?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, year 8 and 9, I was this scrawny, geeky, nerdy kid. Basically a real pushover, low self-esteem. And then midway through year 10, it's like my balls suddenly dropped. I started going to the gym. I took up martial arts, karate. I started wearing contacts so I didn't have to wear glasses. And I just underwent this massive transformation into a sick cunt.
I can vouch for that. It's true.
And because I was able to transfer my martial arts knowledge to my wrestling, incorporate a lot of strikes, a lot of kicks, rolls, submissions even.
Yeah.
It worked quite well, actually.
I thought it was good because every match Knuckles had was different to every other match on the show because of your style being different.
Yeah.
After this match that you have with EQG, Dante Daniels attacks you with the boogie board, starting a feud with you two. At Twisted Metal 5, you lose to Dante via roll-up, and then Dante proceeds to not show up for the next few events to complete the feud with you. What did you think of working with Dante at the time? That just makes so much sense. The Croatian and the Serbian going at it.
He's a great guy. I love him. Even though he's like Croatian, he was still one of my really good friends at the time. He was always nice to me, always good to me, and I really liked the guy. And I was hella looking forward to actually wrestling him because I think our styles clashed well together. And I was just looking forward to having this drawn-out feud with him.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, would you say, like, Nem before this time had a big rivalry with another character on the shows, or...?
Oh, he sort of had an on and off feud with DJ, I think. I was going to mention it at Halloween Hell 2008 when DJ threw you over the table.
Right, yes, the infamous with the cups of water and stuff on there.
Yeah, that was a great moment. Apart from that, I think it was probably the first time we really had Knuckles in a big feud, just because it was always coming and going. So
right.
Once we had him locked in for a while, and then Dante happens to be there because we wanted to do Knuckles versus Dante for ages. Like from the moment Dante came in 2009.
Yeah, because he's just natural. He's so good at it, man. Like on the microphone, like. Just, the last ICWS show, I couldn't believe how good he was. Yeah. Like, he hadn't been there for, like, fucking 6 years or something like that, 5 years, and he was just so good.
He was natural.
But, yeah, it's a shame that he didn't show up for the rest of this feud. But I'm taking another sharp turn here. Have you ever had a conversation with Dan Zeppelin? I just don't remember ever seeing you two sit down and chat. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Let me think for a moment. Let me try and rack my brain.
I'm sure you say, hey man, hey, how's it going? Good.
Yeah, definitely that. I might have had some brief conversations with him in primary school, where he was a chubby kid, who I just knew as Chris's younger brother, even though I didn't really know Chris at the time. Yeah. I like Dan. He's awesome. Funny guy. And, yeah, I do say hi to him and bye at shows and stuff.
I just want to know what your relationship was like with Dan. I mean, obviously the respect is there and your friends and stuff, but you two have never gone to the pub for a beer together or anything like that.
Nah.
But the respect is always there between you and the originals. Winter Warfare, you defeat Low Rider. Did you find wrestling the rookies tough?
Well, not particularly. I just don't think it was that intense, to be fair.
Wasn't this the match where you did the big boot to Low and nearly kicked his head off?
Maybe, you see, because they would pull their punches quite a bit, so to speak. The guys I'd wrestled up until then, DJ, Eli, they held nothing back. They'd
club you.
Yeah, they actually made me feel it, and in return I made them feel it. But these guys, I mean, they had the skills and they had the knowledge, but it's just the intensity wasn't there, I felt, at least at that stage of their careers. And I was actually worried sometimes, like, was I going too far? Was I hurting these guys?
Right. And I think some of them were slightly scared to wrestle you. Like they would be to wrestle Ice or Chaos, Just, they know they're in for a bit of an intense fight.
Maybe, because, yeah, I had a bit of a reputation. Don't know how I got it, but a reputation as a bit of a hard ass, I think. Bit of a tough guy.
Yeah, you're right. You are a tough guy.
Well, yeah, but how did people find out about that?
I guess it just, just us talking about it and building you up behind the scenes, being like, oh, I wouldn't want to fuck with Mem, eh? So I think the young guys were a bit afraid of you.
And honestly, I can't blame him, because I was a bit of a dick at the time, always taking the piss out of people. But it was nothing malicious. I just like to have a bit of fun,
Of course.
A bit of good banter.
Cold Day in Hell, this is a really big one for you. You face Clint Marshall in the main event for the championship, and it goes down in probably one of your top 3 matches that you've ever had. Do you remember it very well, and how does it hold up for you?
I remember it. It was good. I had fun. He was also quite an intense guy to wrestle against. I think our styles meshed well together. Obviously, physicality-wise as well.
Yeah.
He was the same size as me, but he was a lot more skilled with the wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
The thing with me is, when I wrestle, I like to know basically everything from start to finish. I like to have a good plan,
yeah.
So I know what to do, and I feel it flowed really well.
Yeah, I found that when that match was booked, I was excited. I was like, oh, I'd love to see what Clint can do with Knuckles here and see what kind of match this will turn into. And it ended up being like a really good back and forth match. So certainly one of your best matches, I would say. You form an alliance with DJ around this time. I didn't get all the information correctly, and I might be missing the timeline a bit here. But what was DJ like as a manager for you?
He was great. We always had good chemistry because we always think alike. We hate most of the same things, and we hate a lot of things. Same interests outside of the ring, same hobbies.
Yeah.
Just really good chemistry between us, and it was a match that made sense, a team that made sense. And
Yeah.
I was actually really looking forward to going far with that tag team. I actually wanted to win the tag team titles with him.
I remember that being a thing when we were going to do the tag team tournament, and it had already been decided, I suppose, that the Radical Movement were going to win, but DJ was really lobbying hard to get you guys to win the tag titles together.
I was really looking forward to it, but I think it was cut short, because he had to go pro, was it?
He'd left again, yeah.
Yeah, and this really annoyed me at the time, because I wanted to have a hella sick tag team match against SPWS, just because I really wanted to do it, I feel we could have put on an awesome show, and I was hell keen for it. It was probably the most excited I've been to take part in backyard wrestling since ever, really.
Yeah.
And then when he left, it just...
He just kept coming and going.
When he left and we had to cut this whole storyline short, cut our tag team short, it stung, man. It pissed me off.
Yeah, I mean, because you can see when I look through the results here, all of a sudden, where you were headed just ended at one point, and you were just on your own now. No DJ, no real story was going on there, because I guess you had to chop and change due to him coming and going. So, Halloween Hell 2011, Dante doesn't show up again, and you face me. This is one of my favourite ICWS matches. I really enjoyed wrestling you. What were your thoughts and memories on that?
Oh, that was intense. It was fun though, but it was intense because you were by far the most experienced guy in the Fed at the time, and just it was interesting. I like to feel I grow with every single match I have, improve, and I was looking forward to wrestling against you because I knew I would improve heaps after that match, because I pick up a couple new things after every match, just a few new skills, and just become better and better. And yeah, it was fun. I do admit to being a bit worried that I wouldn't match up to your standards, because like I said, I didn't have the traditional wrestling background, whereas you had this whole wealth of experience.
Yeah. And I just come back from my pro run
Yeah.
as well. But I will say this: what I'm proud of with that match is I'd already wrestled Tim Justice during the day, and Chris was trying to figure out what to do with you because Dante hadn't shown up. And I said, I'm ready to have a second match. I can have a second match. But we're continuing this story where I was, climbing the ladder to try and get a title shot. So I guess I had to win the match. And Chris was a bit concerned about, Knuckles losing to a guy who's already had a match. So I was proud of the fact that I managed to come up with a way to have a finish of the match where I still win, but you don't look weak in the process. I just managed to sneak in a roll-up pin on you and get the win. That's what I like most about the match, is that I retained the fact that you were a powerhouse and that you were, matching up quite well against me, but I just managed to sneak over the line.
Yeah, we made it work well, didn't we?
We did, man. It was sick. I was really proud of it. And that, for me, that show was really cool for me, because having two really good matches on the same day, it felt like I'd proved myself. Seasons beatings, Dante doesn't show up again, and you face all these shitty masked wrestlers. This was not good, and it wasn't your fault. Everyone was just... As soon as someone puts on a mask, for some reason, their skill level goes down half.
In one aspect, it was fun to just beat the shit out of a bunch of people, even if it was all scripted. But in another sense, it was disheartening, because I'd been looking forward to wrestling Dante for so long. I wanted our feud to culminate in this brutal match where we just pound the shit out of each other like a brawl, like spoiling the whole, not just the base, but the entire backyard as well.
Right, yeah.
Just slamming each other into the wall, just actual punches to the gut.
This, yeah,
I wanted it to be this hella physical thing.
Damn it.
And it just never happened. And because this was after mine and DJ's tag team broke up because he left to go pro, I found my interest just waning again, and the enthusiasm just wasn't there. I mean, I'd get pumped up for matches against people like Ewan, Clinton, Del Cano, but outside of the ring, I just wasn't looking forward to stuff as much anymore.
Right. Speaking of the tag team with DJ, you guys defeat Dan and Tim at Aussie Anarchy 2. So I think this is basically right near the end of DJ's run. I just have here written, what did you think of Tim? That little high-pitched kid, high-pitched voice.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, it was fun taking the piss out of him on the thread.
He would get so worked up so easily.
See, the thing is, I didn't intend to be a dick. I didn't want to be a dick, but he just got riled up so easily, and I couldn't help it. It was fun to poke fun at that.
And even if you weren't intending to rile him up, he'll get riled up. I don't even know where that kid was coming from sometimes back then.
I don't know. Kids are weird. Like, I went through several phases as a kid myself. A year 8 and 9, I was this massive geeky introvert. Year 10, 11, 12, I was a bit of a cocky douche who liked to show off because I was a bit, physically there.
Yeah.
And then right after high school, I went back to being a massive introvert to the point where I don't want people knowing anything about me. That's why I don't post stuff on Facebook.
Right.
I don't like people.
And you're a teacher, so you have to deal with a lot of dickhead versions of people every day.
Funny that, huh?
Insurgents, you main event again, this time against Mike Del Cano for the championship. Another one of your great matches. How did you find wrestling him?
Mike was great because he could do so much stuff. He was so skilled, so talented.
Yeah.
It was nuts. I remember planning the match beforehand. I just wanted to incorporate a bunch of stuff, and he was cool with everything. He rolled with everything. It just flowed so well, I felt. And wrestling guys like that who are just so flexible, it makes me wrestle better because I can try more things.
Yeah. And I feel like guys like him and Zibby really accentuated your strengths Whereas someone like a Lowe or a Jack Wallace, I guess you could say, couldn't really bring that out of you because, they were probably too busy shitting their pants or something.
Well, like I said, it goes back to what I said earlier about intensity. When they basically connected their punches to me, I just didn't feel anything. When I'm in there in a really physical match, I get pumped up, the adrenaline runs, and I feel I can put in a better performance. But when the opponent just isn't at that level physically, I mean, no disrespect to them, they're really talented, really skilled, but at times, I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah. Twisted Metal 6, probably another one of your best ever matches against Dark Ice. You and DJ asked if you could win, which I found out earlier. So now you have to talk about that. Why did you have to win against Dark Ice?
Because I'd kept losing up until then. I was facing all these top guys in the Fed and losing. I lost to...
And you needed to retain your spot at that part of the card by getting a win, right?
I lost to Clint Marshall. I lost to
Me,
Delcano.
Yeah.
You,
Dante.
Yeah, I just kept losing. I had this reputation as one of the tough guys in the Fed, but every time I went up against one of the other top guys, I'd lost.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was annoying. It hurt my pride. I mean, I know it's scripted and stuff, but it's hard for a man of my pride to handle.
Sometimes you just need a win,
Yeah.
And you know what? I agree. If I was in your position, I'd be like, I'm going over in this match, Chris, DJ, whoever's booking. I'm going over because I need the win. Sometimes you feel like you need the win, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
How'd you find wrestling Dark Ice?
He was great. I mean, he was a bit of a bigger lad, but he could do so much. He was just so good in the ring, and he was also really receptive to everything I wanted to do. Another really physical guy. He actually basically encouraged me to do a moonsault? A frog splash
Right,
for the first time for the finisher.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, up until then, everything I ever did on the ladder was just basically falcon punching the shit out of people. But he actually encouraged me to do a frog splash, yeah.
Yeah, and it was actually a really good splash too, and a good finish to the match. And I just remember the reaction from everyone. This is one distinctly I can remember. The reaction to the match was like huge. Everyone loved it, and no one saw it coming. Like they're like, "Oh, cool, Ice versus Knuckles." Like, wasn't really a big feud going on there or anything. Next thing you know, it's one of the matches on the show.
Yeah.
How did you come up with things like the Falcon Punch? Is that something to do with Dragon Ball Z or anything?
No. I was really good at striking, punches, and I was okay with kicks, but punches were my forte, because I was called Knuckles after all.
Yeah.
And I would break boards in training, wooden boards with my punches, and I just liked using them. And the Falcon Punch, it's just so awesome. It's basically a fucking leaping punch of this ladder. You just drew your fist into some guy's chest.
Yeah.
It's great.
And I love the way the guys sell it. It's like a gunshot. Just boom, the Falcon Punch takes you down immediately.
Yeah, it's great. I loved it. Just, if I could incorporate my striking in a way that looked good, I would do it.
And it's just a simple punch, but you made it a big deal, and that's why it was over. It's just a punch, but everyone was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And then you'd scream Falcon Punch, and everyone's fucking into it. It's just a punch, but you got it over. That's you deserve some credit there for getting just
take
a
notes,
simple punch
Roman
over.
Reigns, you giant douche. That's how you do a fucking punch.
Exactly, cunt. Radical Movement. You surprisingly wrestled Dan Zeppelin for the first time. You have wrestled EQG, but this is the first time you actually wrestled Dan. What did you think of finally getting to get in there with the former heavyweight champion?
Whew. That was fun. That was really, really fun, because he was the first really flippy guy I'd wrestled up until then. And it was interesting because we've both been in the Fed for so long, but we never actually had a legitimate match against each other, I guess you could say. And it was interesting because it allowed me to basically adopt a new, persona. Because up until then, I'd been fighting guys who were physically my equals, and yet Dan was a lot
Smaller.
leaner, a lot
Yeah.
smaller, just jumping around the place, doing hurricanranas.
Yeah,
And it was great actually getting to finally do that, you know?
yeah,
Have that kind of a clash in styles.
yeah. And like I would say here, like, dude, you've had like how many matches in a row? Like the last 3 matches have been classics. You and Delcano, you and Ice, and you and Dan were fantastic matches. Like you're on a roll here. You're on a roll. But at Day of Destiny, unfortunately, you match up against Jack Wallace. So you have a shit match with Jack because he's shit. That's what I've written down here. He was only a kid, really, and I guess he had no idea what to do with you. But every time he talks about ICWS, he always goes like, fuck, I had such a shit match with Knuckles.
Jack has improved so much since then. It's unreal how much he's improved. But like I said back then, there was just no intensity, no physicality. He was also really scrawny, so I seriously worried about hurting him.
Right, yeah.
I don't like hurting people. I like scaring them, but I don't like hurting them.
You missed Halloween Hell, and then you lose at Seasons Beatings to Brian Lowe. So that was his second match with Lowe. I guess he'd improved quite a bit by that point. He was Brian Lowe, so he'd been doing well. Don't know if you want to say anything about Lowe, what you think of Lowe as a performer or person. Do you really know him that well?
Lowe's a good kid. Back when he was younger and still a rookie, he would also get riled up really easily. Not as easily as Tim, but he was a good kid. I always liked him. Except for that one time, he unfriended me on Facebook for like no reason whatsoever. Like
He unfriended like a bunch of the guys, and actually recently I went on his page and I clicked on, how you can suggest friends,
Yeah.
forcing him to be friends with everyone again. In your yard, you turn heel to join with your friend Chris as your manager to take down the ICWS. It didn't get to last long as ICWS faded out here. What did you think of this idea? Now you're getting back into the swing of things. You're going to have a storyline and ICWS ends.
oh man. Well, at the stage of my enthusiasm for backyard wrestling, it was never as big as it was when I was going through that storyline with DJ and
Yeah.
starting the feud with Dante and having all these epic matches against the top guys. But I was keen to try something different,
Yeah. And I think that would have been a great partnership. You lose to Ryan Tate in that match that followed. I guess this is starting a feud with Ryan. Ryan was kind of going to be the guy to defend ICWS against yourself and Chris. I would have liked to seen where that feud would have gone. What was it like wrestling Ryan?
Ryan is awesome. I love this kid so much. Like, if there's anyone I'm going to lose to, I want it to be Ryan. Because he's just so passionate, so enthusiastic. He brings so much to every single match. He tries his absolute hardest. You can tell he really loves the Fed, loves just the idea of backyard wrestling in general. And he was just a joy to work with.
Great match. Great match. I watched it recently for the first time when he had uploaded it to his channel. And I was like, oh man, that was awesome. Like, because I missed it when it happened the first time.
Yeah, of all the guys I've wrestled with, of all the guys in this Fed, Ryan is the one I want to go pro. I want to see him just reach these amazing heights because he's awesome. I love the guy.
Me too. And that's why he's the last WCWA champion. So ICWS fades out for a little while here. There is another show later in the year. WCWA comes along though. Why weren't you interested in joining? Or at least having a couple of matches.
What year did this start?
This was 2013. So WCWA had been around from the tail end of 2012.
Alright.
And 2013, when ICWS kind of fades away, I was just wondering why you possibly didn't come over to WCW.
A couple things. First of all is just my dwindling interest. The second one was the distance from the ring. I didn't have my license at the time, so there was no way for me to feasibly get there. Every single show. I also had a couple of pretty major injuries at the time. Yeah, these things fucking sucked.
Was it the groin again?
Yeah, but this time it was worse. It was the balls.
Oh, great.
So what happened was I basically tweaked a muscle, I guess you could say, in my nutsack
Right.
by doing sprints at karate training.
Yeah.
And
Shit.
that hurt so much. Like, some nights I was weeping, I couldn't sleep because it just hurt so much. And obviously it
How do
kept
you
me out of action for a while.
How did you fix an injury like that? Like
Time. But ever since then, I was hesitant of doing really physical stuff anymore. Even with my karate, I was just hesitant because it hurt so much. And in an area like that as well, it's
Exactly.
not where you want to get hurt.
Yeah.
So I was always really cautious.
So deep down, you might have been interested somewhat, but because of the injury and the distance, that held you back.
Even then, I don't think so. Because I'd grown up with the ICWS guys. It was close to me. I felt really comfortable there around everyone. All the WZWA guys came along. I didn't know them that well. So it's a thing of... I didn't feel I belonged with that group.
Right. Gotcha.
So it was just a combination of all these various factors.
And you got a little bit of hate with the WZWA boys over something you said in the thread. I think you were just joking around. Said something about like that curly-headed fuck or something like that.
Fuck off. I was a dick then. I was a bit of a dick who enjoyed taking the piss out of people. Obviously, I meant no offense because that was just who I was at the time. I think it was just going through high school with people like Eli and Daniel and Chad. We would just ruthlessly take the piss out of each other every single day.
So it was a habit.
It was a habit, and I didn't mean any offense. And I still feel bad about it because after getting to know these guys, I consider them as kind of like my youngest siblings in a way. They're great, and they're all so talented, and they're all so passionate about everything. And thinking back to the times where I just take the piss out of them for no reason at all other than I thought it was funny, it just doesn't feel good.
That's fair enough, man. Look, I mean, you admit your faults and we move on. That's all good. Twisted Metal 7, you faced DJ in your retirement match. This is one of my favourite matches of yours. A very classy exit. Lifted up onto everyone's shoulders. Everyone's chanting Knuckles. What a nice moment for you.
It was good, and a perfect send-off until some cunt decided to bring me back for one final match.
We will get to that very soon. It's we've only got a few more questions here. But you do come out of retirement to compete in the WCWA 2013 Battlefield Brawl match. All I wanted was just one appearance from Knuckles in WCWA, just a surprise entrance in our Rumble, something that people might not see coming, and I don't think I actually told anyone in the ring that you were going to come in there and spear everyone and then just eliminate yourself.
Yeah, but the thing is, people might have guessed it because I showed up at the event. I don't show up to events unless there's a reason for it. But yeah,
Well, that was cool that you got to have at least one little appearance.
Yeah, it was interesting being inside that ring and getting to spear everyone. What I wasn't expecting was for Chaos to fucking spear me back.
Yeah.
And that hurt. I wasn't expecting that.
Because I remember I told you, all you need to do, bro, go in there, spear some people, prove yourself, and
then
say,
just eliminate myself.
Eliminate yourself. And I've obviously hadn't told anyone, so they went to go after
Obviously,
you.
Chaos isn't the kind of guy to just lie down and let someone do that kind of stuff to him.
I remember watching it as it happened, going, "Oh, Nem's not going to like that one. He's not going to like that at all." But yeah, back to that retirement match with DJ. Planning that match with him, I mean, you guys had a nice little battle there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've always had a good chemistry together, and I'd wrestled him several times, so I knew what to expect. And again, he's one of the more physical guys. He likes to make things intense, and I try to match that.
And it was a great match.
It was.
Speaking of DJ, you did induct him into the Australian Backyard Wrestling Hall of Fame with a fantastic speech that really touched his heart. I know.
Naturally.
He loved it. He kept on talking about how great your speech was, weeks and weeks afterward. I guess, in a way, DJ probably means the most to you as far as your time in Backyard Wrestling. How would you describe what DJ did for you, being a part of the wrestling?
I'll always be thankful to him for basically getting me involved in this thing where I got to meet so many amazing people that I can consider legitimate bros, you know? So I'll always be thankful to him for that. And it also helped me get out of my shell a bit. Like I said, I was not the most confident of guys in early high school, and just meeting DJ, getting to know all the other wrestling boys, it just helped me immensely. So I'll always be thankful to him for that. And like I said in my speech, he's like a brother to me. I love the guy. He has his flaws, many of them at that, but I love the guy.
Me too. Okay, so we get to the bit where the annoying cunt fucking drags your sorry ass out of retirement. The year is 2017. You haven't wrestled in, nearly 4 years at this point. And I come up with this amazing idea. And because I'm working with DJ on the final show and what he wants to do with the final matches. And I was like, bro, get this, okay? Knuckles versus Chaos. We've got the show is 10 years to the day of the first UWF event where Knuckles won the championship. What a great story. That already tells a story. This guy's coming out of retirement like Rocky Balboa, and he's going to go after Chaos, who's had the championship for 3-4 years at this stage. I just thought the story was perfect. Knuckles Lock versus, the choke out. Spear versus Gore. Like, there were just so many things we could implement in this match, and I just knew it would be a classic no matter what. And but my biggest obstacles were selling the idea to DJ, selling the idea to you, and selling the idea to Chaos. All three of you weren't keen from the get-go.
DJ wasn't keen. This is the first I've heard of it. Tell me about it.
He just didn't want to do it. He was like, nah, man, nah, Nem will never do it, and it just won't, because, DJ sucks Chaos's dick, and he just wanted Chaos to have a nice little match, retain his championship, and walk out as the champion. And I'm like, no, man, this is important. They've never wrestled before. Nem once said the only person he wished he could have had a match with was Chaos. I can sell this to them. Please just ask Nem. And he gave you a real fucking lackluster sell. He's like, do you want to wrestle at the last show against Chaos? And then you were just like, no, not really, man. And then when Chaos got back to me, because I'd sold the idea to Chaos, he loved it now, because I told him all these things that the match could be about. And Chaos was like, yeah, man, I saw him message Nem, and he really wasn't trying to sell it to him that well. So I got pissed off, and I'm like, he's not trying because he doesn't want the match to happen. So I fucking get on Messenger, and I message you this big thing of this is why this should happen. And then all of a sudden, you started saying, okay, I'll think about it. I really like this idea. If I ever do wrestle, this is the only match I guess I would do.
Did you say Chaos wasn't keen on it initially as well?
Yeah, because he just didn't, because he doesn't have that much confidence in himself, and he thought he wouldn't be able to have a good match with you because you hadn't wrestled in so long. So eventually I said to him, bro, Nem will step it up because it's the last match and everyone in that crowd will be going wild. You'll be stepping it up because everyone will be going wild. I was at the last XCW show and I saw all those boys step it up when they hadn't been wrestling very well at the time because they were getting a bit older and a bit, too far down the line for them. But I knew with the atmosphere that would be created that this would be sick. So I've pitched it to you. What were you thinking?
Alright, I'll get to that, but how did you get DJ on your side? What made him finally get on your side? And did he ever really get on your side and want this to happen?
It took a while, but eventually, once he found out that you were keen, and once I sold the idea to him over and over again, he finally came around and he was like, he'd sit back and cross his arms and be like, yeah, you know what, that would work, I reckon. And he's like, then he started to come around, but at first he didn't want to do it.
At first I didn't want to do it either, because like I said, I'd been retired from wrestling for several years. I'd already gone on to do other stuff with my life. I haven't wrestled in several years. I've been basically hella rusty, and Chaos has this intimidation factor, this reputation. I guess you could say his reputation is in a way sort of similar to Knuckles in his prime. And yeah, while I've always wanted to wrestle Chaos, I just I didn't think I'd be up to it because, like I said, ring rust and just moving on and interest in wrestling dwindling majorly by that point.
Yeah.
But you were persistent, you son of a bitch. Oh my god, you were
I
persistent.
couldn't stop, man. I knew it would be a great moment, and that's what wrestling's about. It's creating those moments to have as memories. And so, okay, finally you say yes, you'll do it. What made you say yes? Was it just because of my persistent, fucking annoying self?
Partly because of that, and partly because, well, I guess I thought, I guess it'd be okay to be a badass for one more day, one more show.
Yeah. And it was fucking awesome, man. Like, honestly, it was such a fucking good match. And I remember just before the final show, DJ and I were sitting out here talking about it, and because DJ was adamant that Chaos retained the championship. And I just said, bro, like, I know that you think Chaos should walk out as the champion because he held it for so long, but doesn't it just tell such a good story that Knuckles wins it 10 years to the day he won it the first time? Surely. And he was thinking about it. He's like, yeah, you know what? Like, maybe we should have Nem go over. Maybe he should win the championship. I'm like, yes, all right. And like, Chaos was fine with it. And I said, look, what we can do is after the match, Knuckles can hand the championship back to Chaos, like, you know, showing that respect. And it'll be a nice finish to the show. But let's get to that show, the final ICWS event. That match. Take us through how you were feeling on the day, especially with the fact that we didn't have much padding on the base.
Alright, so on the car ride there, honestly, I wanted to get it over with, to be fair. Then we got there, the base still hadn't been set up, and when it finally did get set up after so much waiting, it wasn't even a base, it was like carpet, basically. And I'm thinking to myself, fucking hell, Carl, what did you get me into?
Shit, yeah, it was pretty fucked, eh? But I found it wasn't too bad, but that's because I've been wrestling quite a bit at the time, so I was capable of dealing with the fucking stiff base, but you hadn't wrestled in a long time, so...
The stiffness wasn't the problem, the carpet was the problem. After the fucking show, I had knees like a fucking hooker. You know, fucking carpet burn on my knees.
What did you think when you found out you were going to win the championship?
Actually, I thought that would be poetic. I felt it would be like the only possible outcome. I mean, aside from a double KO draw. But, I mean, yeah, it gave my comeback some significance, you know?
Yeah. And maybe it makes up for losing to a lot of those top guys from back in the day, and you finally got to reach the pinnacle again.
Yeah.
I loved it. Did you like the match?
Yeah, I mean, just the closer we got to the match, and when I finally started warming up and stuff and just practicing my stuff, it just kept coming back to me, and the hype, the anticipation kept on building.
Yeah.
And then to the point where I was like doing my entrance, I'm like, hey, this was kind of good. And then I get into the ring, the crowd is going wild, I'm cheering, I'm thinking to myself, fuck, this is awesome. Like, I'm gonna make this fucking awesome.
Yeah. I was so proud of you, man. Like, you were a bit hesitant, but I knew that if I was persistent, I'd be able to create one last great memory for you to have, and what a great way for us.
Man, you'd make a fucking good journalist.
Well, I did study journalism, but I fucking failed at it.
I studied and I dropped out. Fuck journalism, man.
Yeah, it was shit, dude. I hated it.
Yeah, so many dicks.
So not only, you win the championship, but you get your revenge on Dante Daniels, finally. I was so happy that we could book that at the last second. Like, Knuckles has to get his revenge. We have to tie off that loose end.
Wait, were you the one that invited him?
Yeah.
And was it for that purpose, or was that
I
something
invited
you
him, but like
came up with on the day?
When he got there on the day, I was like, oh, we could do this. We could just do a little segment during the show. Dante can talk on the mic one last time. Be a nice little surprise, and then Knuckles can just fucking get his revenge finally.
Felt good. It not as epic as I imagine our like full-on brawl would have been had we actually had it, but it was fun, and it was great seeing Luke again. I fucking love the guy.
And as I said earlier, man, that dude's just naturally talented.
He's crazy. He's a good singer as well. Did you know that?
Oh, no, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, what a sick cunt.
He's got everything.
Well, that's the end of your career there, Knuckles. We've got through the whole thing. Just 2 more questions. Do you have any regrets?
Do I have any regrets? At this stage, not really. It's just I really wish that our tag team with me and DJ could have gone through and we could have become champions. That's like the only regret I have now. I mean, I wrestled pretty much everyone I wanted to wrestle. Chaos, Ice. Yeah. No regrets, but just... I wish we could have done it, man. I wish we fucking could have done that tag team story.
Yeah. Well, you got to be aligned with DJ, so that was a cool part of your career.
Yeah.
The final show, another cool part of your career. I thought your run throughout 2011 and 2012 was fantastic. You showed that you could do it still, even with a big break, you could still do it, and you were getting better and better, and you proved yourself each and every time, man. Last question: what does ICWS mean to you?
It's one of the best, most important parts of my life because I met so many amazing people who I've come to admire so much and respect, and it's like a family. Obviously, I don't have the relationship maybe the WZWA guys do with each other, but it's still, I consider everyone there my bros, and it's great. I'm so thankful for getting the opportunity to be a part of all that.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And as far as I'm concerned, you go down as one of the all-time greats. I always call you a legend. You're a legend, whether it's in the backyard wrestling scene or whether it's just in person.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you.
And the rain's coming down here in Dianella. And that's the interview, Knuckles. Thank you for doing this interview.
Thank you for having me.
I very much appreciate it, man.
It was fun.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone out there, for listening to the GBYWN Australia podcast. I'm Aston Crude, alongside Knuckles and Chris Zeppelin. And we'll be with you next time when I do a timeline of ICWS 2011 with my good friend Chris Zeppelin. Thank you, and goodbye.